Krishna Jai Shri Ram Sankirtan ki
Jai.
best way to celebrate Rama. Still we should just a few words about Lord Ramachandra, who Can you turn this down a little? I don't know. I wanted the fan up and the volume came up. But it was as Lord Ramachandra appeared on this particular day, he is the eldest brother, and therefore he was the one to inherit the throne of Maharaj Dhritarashtra, which led to the whole banishment from the kingdom, and of course, as a result of that banishment from the kingdom, then Lord Ramachandra's wife was captured by Rama, and then all of the demons were harassing sages and demigods throughout the three worlds. They were all then destroyed. At least many of them, because Ravana's brother, one of Ravana's brothers, he had other brothers as well. Bibhishan, he was installed by Lord Ramachandra as the king of Lanka. Where is Lanka? I read an interesting article. Of course, Srila Prabhupada says that the current Lanka is not the Ramayana Lanka, because it is a much greater distance away, and it's on the equator, and as you go, if you draw a longitudinal line through Ujjain, then where the equator and that intersects, there's nothing there. However, it's clear that now when did Lord Ramachandra appear? Srila Prabhupada he's mentioning these 2 million years. On the other hand, if you go by the actual calculation that's given both astrological and otherwise in Shastra, then it's 18 million years. So you can balance those two things out. But in between that time, there are ice ages, and that's known to modern science as well. And of course, when the ice melts, then the level of the water goes up. When I was reading about Dwarka, at the same time, I'd read that 5,000 years ago, the level of the ocean was 120 feet, I believe, anyway, lower. So when we're talking about this ocean swallowed up Dwarka, that chronologically that sort of fits in that time. Similarly, they have very good maps by which they map the mountains in the ocean, and beneath the juncture of the longitude and equator, there is actually a large body of land, which would very well suit the size of Lanka. And that's very interesting because you go to Sri Lanka now, and of course there's another issue is that this Sri Lanka was never named Sri Lanka, it was called Ceylon. And there's also a Shastric statement, not using the word Ceylon, but sort of a Sanskritized version that describes it as actually being a part of India. So the land bridge that submerged Lanka, present day Lanka, with what they say is the mountain where Ravana's palace was, and Sita's garden, all of these places there. One indication is that this is all for tourism, and Sri Lanka of today really needs as many tourists as it possibly gets. It's a bankrupt country. So, in any case, we see that Bhagavatam makes this mention that when Lord Ramachandra, he engaged monkeys, bears, varanas, forest-dwelling creatures in his service, although actually he didn't need them in order to kill Ravan. But still, he gave them opportunity for service. The Srila Prabhupada, when he's talking to one of his devotees, sannyasis, ex-sannyasis who gave up the renounced order, asked the question, well, Prabhupada, Chota Haridas gave up his body, and that was Lord Chaitanya's expectation, so does that mean that that's what we should also do if sannyasis give up their vows? And so Prabhupada said, no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't need anybody. He can spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, but I need as much help as I can. Grihitaku, Vanitaku, Agohondaku, so whether you Brihasta or sannyas, it doesn't matter. I need whoever is willing to assist the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And so just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't need anybody, Lord Ramachandra also didn't need anybody. He was more than capable of dispensing with Ravan and everybody else on his own. But still, he engaged monkeys and bears, and even spiders, squirrel, and so on. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also doing the same thing. He's giving opportunity for us to participate in this movement. Now, Hanuman became very famous for participating in that war, for fighting the Rakshasas, killing the sons of Kumbhakarna. What would happen? What would be his fame if he didn't have the opportunity to fight? If Lord Chaitanya did everything. So just as Krishna is also telling Arjuna, Nimitta Matra Bhakti Sabyasacha, that you should just fight and always think of me. That said, it didn't mean that everyone who was fighting on Chaitanya, on Lord Ramachandra's side, came out unscathed. Some died, some were wounded. Similarly, we see the same thing in Krishna consciousness, that in serving Lord Chaitanya's mission, then sometimes the devotees perish in that effort, sometimes devotees come out wounded in one way or another. And even with Lord Ramachandra's, some of his followers, especially Rhythmic. So we read of Rhythmic Gorilla in Bhagavatam. Rhythmic was also part of Lord Ramachandra's crew. But in the process of everything that was going on, he became offensive to Lakshman, a result of which he became a demon, or as a result of which he sought out association other than Jambalan and Hanuman and so on. Instead, he looked for the association of other sort of demoniac people, friends of Kamsa. So the result of that was is that, of course, Lord Balaram killed him later on. That's also there. We also see that in Krishna consciousness, that sometimes people, devotees, become antagonistic. They become antagonistic to sometimes Prabhupada, other members of ISKCON or the institution, and even on rare occasion they become antagonistic towards just Krishna consciousness, period, which includes Krishna. I was a young devotee back in Montreal, and some idiot had come to the temple and to see what we were doing, and he wrote this article, newspaper article, saying that, and I'm not going to repeat the things that he said, but all these bad comparisons about who Krishna looked like and so on. So that's also going on. Of course, he wasn't a devotee, but he certainly had very strong opinions. But in fact, that same sannyasi I was talking about, who got married, I just sort of stumbled across him on the internet, because I do quite a bit of, in terms of the writing, sometimes I have to look for references. And I stumbled across him. I couldn't believe what he was, how he was speaking. This was someone who had a lot of association with Prabhupada, and how he was blaspheming, criticizing Srila Prabhupada. It was horrible. So, yeah, those casualties, although, even though there were, when the war was all over and demigods came, worship Lord Ramachandra, then King Indra asked Lord Ramachandra, all of these casualties in your war, it doesn't look good that those who fight on the side of the Lord, that they perish. So please bring them back to life. So they brought back to life. And of course that sounds good from the material point of view, but figuratively it will also mean, as Krishna says, Name Bhakta Punasya, the devotee never perishes. So even though it may appear that devotees go through difficulties in the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but ultimately he gives them real life. So to fight and to die. There's this real nice anecdote in 1976. Srila Prabhupada was from that's the 10th year of Srila Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada was in New York, and he was very sick. So he was telling devotees, where should I go, what should I do? Some devotees said, come to Hawaii, best weather, go to Los Angeles. Los Angeles also has very nice weather, although a little milder. And then Prabhupada also received an invitation to go to Rath Yatra in London. So Prabhupada was going back and forth and back and forth, and Srila Prabhupada did that. He always wanted advice from the disciples, and sometimes he followed it, sometimes he didn't. So ultimately, Prabhupada always did what he wanted to do. And this was actually a 14-story building. Was there 76? No, you were there 76.
I was there for the 76, but I was there living in the building 78.
And Prabhupada coming down in the elevator stopped at the ground floor, big kirtan of devotees. Prabhupada turns to the sannyasis who's with him, and he sort of just came. He says, we're going to London. I mean, London's not the place you go to if you want to recover your health. But Prabhupada said, I want to be like Arjuna. I want to fight for Krishna to the very last breath. So that's what Vaishnavas want to do. They always want to serve to the very last breath. And we see this as the example of those devotees who were willing to risk life and limb for, and ultimately what were they fighting? We got, I don't know how many Rakshasas on one side and Varnas on the other side, but this was all over just one woman. I mean, she was not just a woman, she was Lakshmi Devi, but still it was only over one, and so many others died. Of course, the whole thing was the principle. Same principle that Arjuna begins in the beginning. Adharma bhagavat Krishna pradishyanti kulastriya strisha jayati varna shankara. So Arjuna's making the same point. Still, of course, Krishna didn't buy into that reasoning at that time, but here just this that some other man can kidnap another's wife. It's going on a lot nowadays, but one of the first things you read in Bhagavad Gita in the purport, Prabhupada says, there's 6 things for which you can kill somebody. And one of them is if someone steals your wife. That's dharma. So Lord Ramachandra is making this point, protecting this point. But another, if someone occupies your land, they will attacks you with a weapon, a raised weapon.
Put fire to the house.
Puts fire to the house.
Give poison.
Poisoning.
Poison. So we're also fortunate we have this opportunity, although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may not need us, but he gives us the opportunity because we get the credit. No one's seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu nowadays, but they see the devotees. They see the devotees in Harinam, they see the book distribution, distributing prasadam, building temples, preaching. Devotees are visible everywhere around the world. So that's our good fortune. And are we in the category of honorers? Well, we don't have the strength that they do. I remember once I was giving class at Bhaktivedanta Manor, and I'd mentioned Hanuman. I told him, well, after all, Hanumanji is he's a monkey, so he's not like a great scholar. And Krishnadas Swami, my friend, he was there at that time, godbrother, and he was very learned in Indian culture and so on. So he said, no, Maharaj, one of the names of Hanuman is he is Pandita, that he was a great scholar. So, I mean, neither we have the strength that they had, neither we have some of them are, just like Jambavan was a Chiranjeev, lives for the life of the universe. Neither we have the intelligence that they have, or perhaps even the courage. But still, we see how many wonderful things can be achieved. Krishna Shakti Vinena Hatapa Bharatana. If one is empowered by with Krishna. That's really
Enlightening.
enlightening. What are we going to eat?
I'm thinking about you two going in your room. Ladies can stay here, and boys can go to the Ramachandra ashram and eat inside. Something like that.
Well,
We can do the blending.
so you can see we wrote these books here. Just briefly, I'm just going to ask Raja Maharaj to speak for a few minutes and explain Gopkumar's sort of journey through Ayodhya. As once again, we see how here's someone who's looking for Krishna, and as wonderful as who's looking for Krishna, and as wonderful as Lord Ramachandra is, but still he just keeps on going. You gonna read?
No, just reference.
Oh.
Well, as we know, Gopakumar, he had an aspiration in his heart, experience of intimacy that was unshakable. And because of that aspiration, he was always hankering for association among Gopal. Still, when he was preparing to leave Vaikuntha, next stop that he was going to go to in his journey was to Ayodhya. And some may say, why go to Ayodhya? What benefits can be derived from going to Ayodhya for someone who's hankering for Mount Gopal? And nonetheless, Narada Muni gave him the means to go there by chanting the names, various names of Lord Ramachandra as the husband of Sita, as brother of Lakshmana, as the Lord of Hanuman. And he says if you chant these names and meditate, you will go there. And Gopakumar, he was somewhat simple, his personality. He was even, the word that was used, he was a little naive about about the ways of spiritual life. All he knew was that he had this mantra, he had this aspiration, and he had these personalities who were assisting him, especially Narada Muni, who we would see in his journey. And he was told that you go to this place, once you go to any place, or at first I was thinking is that one should follow whatever path leads to attaining one's own worshipable deity. That is the most intelligent way to act. So why is he going to a yoga? Why is he sending to a yoga? He says that persons exclusively devoted to their object of worship should be very much attracted to anything in which they find even a faint scent of their deity's presence. So he was going to go as he to Ayodhya, travel, and he was saying that maybe I should go back first and get permission from Lord Narayan. And Narada Muni told him, well, don't worry. He told me he knows what you're going, where you're going, he knows why you're going there. And he's already told me to come give the green light. You get the green light from me, and you can take it as good as coming from him. And he was saying what to speak of, because you're so eager to achieve this goal. If you go back and get caught up with seeing Lord Narayan, you might get waylaid. And you might not be able to go as quickly as you should go. So he was able to convince Kumar to go there, to Ayodhya. But more than anything, two things would result to Gopakumar as a result of going to Ayodhya. He would see that there's more intimacy, which he was attracted to. He had a certain intimacy, and his attempt to have an intimate relationship with Lord Narayan wasn't so much appreciated by the residents of Vaikuntha, especially when he saw his Lord seated on the throne, and he thought he was in the presence of Gopal. He even called out with his outstretched hands, said, "Gopal!" And the residents of Vaikuntha said, this person here is not Albert boy. And, so it wasn't so much appreciated there, but he wanted more intimacy, and he was able to see that more intimacy that was present, and he even perceived by seeing Lord Ramachandra, seeing the service attitude of Hanuman, seeing the beauty of their appearances, they were even more attractive. It's inconceivable, how could the residents of Ayodhya be more attractive than the residents of Vaikuntha, when many of the residents of Vaikuntha had the same appearance as Lord Narayan. They had Swarup Mukti. They had the same appearances. The only thing that was missing was that they didn't have the kastuba. They weren't wearing the kastuba, and they didn't have the Makashivas on his chest as Lord Narayan, but very attractive. So you would see the attractive residents of Ayodhya who were more attractive, far more attractive. But the real benefit is that after hearing the glories of and seeing Lord Ramachandra, Lord Ramachandra understanding his heart, and Hanuman, the servant of Lord Ramachandra, who's a sold out servant, he was thinking, we're going to lose this person. He doesn't seem to be keeping his attention here. Let me sing the praises of Lord Ramachandra. He began singing songs in glorification of Lord Ramachandra, thinking that he thought he was doing the best service he could possibly render to Gopakumar by singing the glories of Lord Ramachandra. And when he heard those glories, he decided to stay on and to render service for some time longer. But the ultimate benefit that he got was he got the blessings from Lord Ramachandra, who understood his heart, who was the same personality that manifested to the residents of Ayodhya according to their desire, but not according to Gopakumar's desire. So Lord Ramachandra told him, he said, take Jambavan with you. He knows the ways of Dwarka. He's father of Jambavati. And go to Dwarka from here, and with my blessings, go there. There you will find Krishna. And not only did he get blessings, but as what happened to Gopakumar wherever he went, he understood that he couldn't be fully satisfied in this place. And that was one of the points that Narada Muni would bring up to him regularly wherever he would see him. He said, when Narada told Narada, he said, well, why is it that wherever I go I see you and you're manifested? And Narada said, haven't I told you this before? Just as the Lord expands himself into various abodes to be with his eternal associates in those abodes, in the same way the Lord's devotees can also expand himself and they can manifest in different places and simultaneously even if required. He says, just like I've seen you in different places. Wherever I see you, you're going from one place to the next, but you're also appearing to be the same person. Just as I appear to be the same person, you also appear to be the same person. Wherever you go, you're not satisfied. And that's what was going to happen to Gopakumar. He was not fully satisfied when he saw the interaction with Lord Ramachandra, with the residents, who are as good as the Aryan civilization. They saw the Lord Ramachandra, who was Mayapur Purushottam. He was best, the greatest moralist, the greatest, he is religionist. And this one verse, which I thought Sivarama Maharaj was going to speak about, and I suggested, why don't you just take this one verse, because he can take one verse and expand on it immediately. I can only just take one verse and read it and repeat it. But it reveals what actually happened to Gopakumar in Ayodhya. What verse did I say? It was 260. Oh, I can't remember. 268. I remember. And Gopakumar said, I saw the unique pastimes of the divine lion of the Raghus, who was playing the role of a king of kings, acting in strict accord with religious principles. So someone may say, that's perfection. There are so many who would achieve that destiny, achieve that relationship, be treated by the perfect king, who is fully compassionate, humble, fully religious. Ekapatni Vrata, he took a firm vow, accepted only one wife in so many ways. He was taught how to be the ideal king of all kings. And Gopakumar said, I saw this unique pastimes of this divine lion of the ragas playing the role of king of kings, acting in strict accord with religious principles. In the commentary, Sanatana Swami says, in a subtle way, Gopakumar now begins to express the dissatisfaction that will eventually compel him to find an even better abode of the Supreme Lord than Ayodhya. Lord Ramachandra acted just like a pious king of the world, obeying the rules and regulations of the Dhamma Shastras. Gopakumar never saw him violate any religious principles. Now, for Gopakumar, that wasn't the modern Gopal that, and he said, this implies that the Lord was not free to display, there in Ayodhya, he was not free to display the highest extreme of compassion for his devotees. What was this highest extreme of compassion for his devotees? Well, in Ayodhya he is Bhayad Purushottam, but in Goloka he is Lila Purushottam. Or I think it's also described as Purna Purushottam. Purna Purushottam. Because in not only Lila, because of his pastimes that he displays in relationship with his intimate devotees, where the devotees are encouraged to even to break. That's one of the symptoms of Mahabhava. One of the symptoms of Mahabhava that was manifest in the gopis was that they didn't follow their elders and they were ready to break religious principles. That attracted Kara boy, who called him by the sound of his flute. Then Gopakumar and manifest the highest compassion to the residents of the Loka. But this implies that the Lord was not free to display the highest extreme of compassion for his devotees in the Ayodhya. So, is that okay?
Because Krishna, even in that Sharadiya Rasa, 60 billion gopis. So, he was just giving mercy to one lady. Krishna was giving mercy to 60 billion. So that's real compassion. It looks like he's breaking religious principles. Sometimes to do the right thing, you may have to break religious principles. Sarvadharma Parityaja. Krishna's already hinting there. Actually, the topmost religion is to transgress religion. But first, you gotta get to the Mahabhav platform.
Mahabhava. That's right. And that's one thing Narada told him. He said, you're even more qualified than us. Myself and Uddhava. So, you belong to that place where Mahabhava is manifest. We belong to that place.
Shami, are we ready?
Yes,
Oh,
always.
should we take this on?
Yeah.
Okay, dear devotees, it is time to break our fast. And thank you all very much for participating in the program. And we should also pray for Lord Ramachandra's blessings. Let us go on, not to Dwarka, but to Vrindavan, where we, as Krishna then marries 16,108, but that's still quite little by comparison to 60 billion. And that's just one day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Shri. Okay, so Shambhi Hari, you're on.